Good evening, class. Sorry I am late. Today is Wednesday, hump day, and this is your one and only host for Naked Radio, Arian Hart, and this is Sex Talk. Welcome to class. Today we are going to be discussing sexual education. Yes, some of you may be saying, well, isn't that what we're doing every Wednesday? Not to this extent. Tonight we're going to be talking about how sexual education is handled here in America and how we think it should be handled, or what some ideas we would have, or some suggestions. Sex education is, as far as it is right now, it's something that not every school gives, and it's something that everybody is not required to have. And even if you take sex education, it's not even up to par to where we are sexually as people. So, what do we do? My first question would be, when should we start teaching sex education? Especially when young men who have sex with men are contracting HIV, and these young men are between the ages of 13 and 24. At what age, which is telling me that there is some form of lack of education happening if our children are becoming infected with HIV. So at what age are we teaching them? And are we teaching them the right things? So, if we wait till, they're 13, 14 to start teaching them about, now that you're interested in girls, let's start teaching you. At that time, it might be too late because your child might already be positive or have an STD.
Really, the question should be, are you interested in boys or girls? That should be the first question. After that, it should be, do you want to really about the child?
So what do you do? Is it too young? Is it when it's too young to start teaching our children about, safe sex practices, or safe sex habits, healthy sex conversations? What age do we start teaching them? And it doesn't even have to be about sex. What age do we start teaching children about their own sexual identities? Because should not sexual identity be a part of sexual education?
Yeah, and I can hear some people already saying, no, it shouldn't be, because your sex is determined by your gender is determined by what sexual organs you have. Sexual identity has nothing to do with
your penis or vagina, what's in between your legs.
So if you have a boy who identifies more as a girl, then you have a daughter.
And you might want to, communicate with your child about sexual identity, because if you don't,
someone will, and it won't be healthy.
No, it won't.
Instead, they'll come across someone who, let's say, the example I said earlier, where your son identifies more as a girl, so therefore you have a daughter. There might be situations where, your daughter decides to put on a dress, fix their hair up to grow out their hair to make it really nice and long, because that's their idea, that's their mental vision, mental picture of what a girl is. So they decide to dress up as a girl. Now, the whole thing of them learning about it the hard way, quote unquote, is when they come across someone who teases them or makes them feel less of a human being, for them deciding to identify as a girl. They'll call them sissy, fag, a bunch of other derogatory names. And this is also a reason as to why you have transgendered boys and girls killing themselves. Because you as your parent, I'm going to say this, you as your parent, you failed to protect them. Protecting them is making them feel comfortable with whatever gender identity they have, as well as their sexuality. That's your child.
Not whatever gender identity you want them to have. Which brings me to the question, being that sexual health is a social issue, and it's not subjective. And being that it's a social issue and it's not subjective, should parents be required to let their children go to sex education?
Yeah, because there are some parents who have their kids sign that waiver form saying that their parents are going to teach them, and their parents don't teach them anything.
Okay. So if we require all parents to send their children to sex education, which I think should be, everybody. I can hear parents saying, "Well, I can teach my child better than any school." I'm like, well, I think a trained professional should teach sex. And we're not talking about sex. We're not talking about how to have sex. We're talking about sexual health, sexual education, sexual identity. Things they need to know about sex before they step out into the natural world and try to experiment with their sexual selves with another sexual self.
Right.
Otherwise, it's jumping into muddy waters.
Yeah. And it's at that point, it's trial by error. And I understand that, this is how human beings learn. But nowadays, with sex, trial and error is you either get into an abusive relationship, you contract something that you can't get rid of, or it's not something healthy to do with sex. You don't figure out by just going out and doing stuff with everybody.
Which is generally the way that things are being taught now, because there's such a heavy lack of education of sex here in America that most people are learning from, porn and their friends and trial and error.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got to understand, when most sexual education courses in public school systems teach abstinence before marriage and marriage between a man and a woman.
Right.
Now, not to say that things are changing. Things have always been this way. Now that the system is changing to match the people.
Right.
How do we teach same-sex education? How do we teach transgender education?
And on one hand, some people will say, well, maybe they should separate the classes by who identifies as gay, who identifies as transgender, who identifies as bisexual and hetero. But that's for one, that's doing too much, and it's moving away from what the main point is: sexual education.
Yeah.
Because some people will say, well, then let the gays teach the gays. But I'm gonna be honest with you. The gays kind of learn from porn, where if you're a top, you're this big buff dude who has a big dick, and if you're a bottom, you're an effeminate man who has a fat ass. And I've met people who defy that stereotype on both sides.
Believe it or not, a lot of the gay community followed by the hetero social standards of what is male and what is female, or what is masculine or what is feminine, or what is the head or the tail in a relationship.
Right, when in reality it's two men. Unless you change your sex, it is two men. And even if you change your sex, it's no longer a gay relationship, it's a straight relationship. If it's a man and a transgender woman, then yes, it is a straight relationship. It is not a gay relationship. It's not something out of the norm. It's because it's someone the other person identifies as a woman. But we're talking about if it's someone who is a man who likes men. Because like you have guys who are claiming tops, and then they're going around having sex with effeminate bottoms, and then saying they're not straight, they're not gay.
Why does abstinence before marriage not work?
Because we're sexual beings.
We are. We're born that way.
Yeah, we're gonna have sex. That's
Some people are gonna wait while others are not.
yeah. Some people are not.
And I don't think those people should be judged for not waiting. But I at least think everybody should have some education about what they're getting into, as opposed to not being certain. People be getting their feelings hurt over sex. Mm-hmm. And they don't teach you that in school. They teach you, sex is about having a baby, this and this and that. Like,
no, sex is a connection. People. It's funny because people will say, I can have emotional sex. You do feel some type of emotion in that sex, regardless of what you're doing. Whether you're beating someone into the bed, you're feeling some type of emotion. Or if it feels so good to you, you decide to, quote unquote, make love, that's an emotion.
You're emoting in some way, shape, or form.
Right. And even if it's something where you're hooked on the sex, that's obsession. That's another emotion too. They don't talk about these things. They don't talk about the fact that, someone may have sex with someone and may get angry at that person because they went and had sex with someone else. They don't talk about how to properly court somebody.
Yeah.
How do you approach someone and strike up a conversation to ask for their number without, 1, making them feel threatened, 2, insulting them, and 3, if the person decides to decline your offer to go on a date, you need to be able to, they don't teach how to have the fortitude to handle that.
No, they don't.
Because that's rejection. And come to find out, a lot of guys really can't handle rejection. Our masculinity is so fragile that if a dude goes, "Hey girl, how you doing?" and the girl goes, "Don't talk to me," he decides to insult her instead of just being like, "Okay, well, you have a nice day." Or the fact that it's a societal standard that if you're a man and you want to marry someone, or a girl, whether it's a guy or a girl, you need to go ahead and do it instead of the girl deciding to propose to you. There have been moments where I've heard where people have been in really excellent, boyfriend, girlfriend type thing. Like they're hitting it off. They've been dating for about a year or two strong or more. And the woman decides to propose to the man, and the guy breaks up with her just because he felt emasculated.
He felt like the woman. And it bothers me that our form of education with sex, with sexual education and identity, we teach that the woman is so weak.
Yeah, and frail and dainty and a damsel in distress who always needs to be saved.
And that is so unattractive to me.
It is. And there's also women who don't like that shit. There's women who I've met before who have been like, "I'm not dainty, so don't treat me like I'm some piece of china. I might look like it, but I'm not. I'm a big girl. I can take it." I've met I've met women who have just been amazing. Like they're what a guy would call a quote unquote bad bitch. I don't like using that term because that term is so thoughtish, but that's beside the point. The woman will have a job, she'll have a car, she'll have everything in her life together, and he'll be attracted to that. But then, because she has the attitude of, if I want something, I'm gonna get it. Mm-hmm. Men view that as emasculating. You have the perfect girl in front of you. I can't even say on your lap or in your hand because she doesn't want to be possessed by you. That's another thing they don't teach. A lot of guys, when they get into relationships, they want to own their partner.
That's people, period.
People, period. A lot of people, when they get into relationships, they want to own and control their partner, and they think that's love, and that they think that's how a relationship should go. That isn't. And all this does tie into sex education, because you get into relationships out of sex, or even if you don't have sex, you guys might have a long crush on each other and just might be talking.
It's not
it's interaction.
It's more than just having babies,
right? And another thing, they also don't teach men how to be responsible for the children that they create.
They're not teaching that in school.
They don't. Instead, actually, what they do is they tell women, hit him with child support. Mm-hmm. Which wrecks these men's lives. But at the same time, you should have known better. If you didn't want to help make a baby, use a condom. Either use a condom or y'all talk about having unprotected sex. Talk about it. If this is your quote-unquote fuck buddy and you want to hit it raw, talk about it. Because if you have a kid, she'll be hitting you with, hey, I'm pregnant. And it's kind of sad now that, the joke of it is the men will hang up the phone or
say something,
get missing or make up an excuse or something. If you're going to have unprotected sex with her and you're not going to even try to not have a baby, bruh, accept responsibility. And no, you cannot make her abort because it's her body.
And they don't teach that either about their body. I mean, they teach about, if an adult is coming at you, they don't teach about when you become an adult, and if another adult is coming at you to touch you, right. It's my body.
Right. They don't teach you that. They don't teach us that at all. Really, sex education is half-assed, or
it's less than half-assed.
Not even half-assed. It's like
it's a semester. It's a semester course.
For me, it was a week.
That's terrible.
Sex education was a week. It was like a week or two when we were in 5th grade, and that was it. That was it. We were all left to our own devices to learn about sex.
Well, go figure it out.
So then it came the whole thing of, if you're a guy, you have to have hoes.
Yeah. And if you're a girl, you gotta be pure.
Right. So it creates this sickening, sad stereotype that men can be wanton whores and have sex with 50 to 100 women, and that's considered hot. Yet if a woman were to do the exact same thing, it's frowned upon. She's a slut. She's a whore. She doesn't take care of herself. She doesn't respect herself. I mean, but you were just praising the man for doing the same exact thing. So he doesn't respect himself either, right? Because we treat sex as something that's so taboo, we don't have a healthy view on it. And then when these kids want to learn because their body's changing and they're having either, boys are having nocturnal emissions or girls are starting their periods. Mind you, girls go through puberty a lot earlier than guys do. Mm-hmm. Girls might start at 8 or 9, while boys might start 10, 11,
12,
13 at latest. So why aren't we... It kills me because we'll say something like, the woman is precious, the girl is precious, she's priceless. But then when it really comes down to it, when she's asking for help or assistance with something, we don't, because I guess because of our own fear about it, because it always roots down to personal fear, we don't bother to talk about it at all, and we act like it'll go away. This girl's body's changing. She wants to know, why is there blood coming out of my vagina? Am I dying?
I'm pretty sure so many girls have asked that. Many girls probably have screamed, I'm dying.
Right. Or why do my moods change? Why? There's a lot of changes with the human body that girls go through, and because girls mature a lot faster than boys, this is something that needs to be talked about. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be something where the fathers teach the boys how to be men, and the mothers teach the women how to be. I mean, the girls how to be women.
It's our whole society.
Right, and it's your entire family. You can't that's divisive. You can't separate the family like that.
You can't separate our society like that.
Right.
Our community. This is our community.
Because there's some things that the girls want to know, that the girls going to want to know about guys, and vice versa. I remember when I was younger, I didn't like girls sexually, but I was still asking about how their body parts worked.
Yeah.
Because as me being a human being, I'm just curious. I want to know. It's a part of me wanting more knowledge. Or guys will say, they'll talk to their dad about how to understand women when you should be talking to your mother how to understand women. I think that's insulting to the mother to go to the father and ask, hey, Dad, how did you and Mom stay together so long? I mean, like, you should ask both parents if you're going to do that.
I think there's a lot of things that we leave out as a community when it comes to sex. We want to leave sex in the bedroom, which is understandable. That's fine and dandy, but the communication about it is not happening. It's not happening anywhere. And it's not. And it's been like. This is not new. This has been like this for a while. So this is something that's ingrained in our culture as Americans. And in order for us to get out of that, we as a community, we as a people, have to rethink our sex education. For us adults, I'm not gonna say it's too late, but at least for the children who are the future, not to sound cliche, who are gonna be here, they can have a better understanding and be able to eradicate some of the things as well as unhealthy practices that are happening between people. Unhealthy relationships, unhealthy conversations, stemming from deep-seated history of pain and things that we don't even understand ourselves.
And parents, if your child comes to you asking a question about something pertaining to sex pertaining to sex and you don't know or understand it, just tell them that. Tell them, I don't know or I don't understand. It's okay to not have an answer to every single question your child asks you.
This is true.
And then if you don't know, open up the floor for conversation. I mean, there's the internet right around you. You guys can go on, I can't even say do Google searches because Google will give you some stuff that's off the wall. But my point is, read some books, do some research about it. If you don't know and you want your child to know, how about you both do research on it? So therefore, both of you can learn, and it's also a bonding moment too.
Yeah. And sex is not just about penetration and the act in the bedroom. That's the point I'm trying to make here. When it comes to sex education in our schools, sex education in our homes, we need to understand that sex is happening. When you meet somebody and you find them attractive, sex began the moment y'all caught eyes. And we need to understand that. The conversations that we're having with people, touching people, it's a form of sexuality.
We also need to teach about the fact that some people may not want to be touched. And just because someone looks attractive doesn't mean you can just walk up to them and be like, hey, can I suck your dick?
Ugh.
Right.
Oh my God.
We need to teach people how to talk to someone that they consider attractive. I mean, yeah, they're going to make you feel nervous and have all the butterflies or whatever. You're going to feel something that's going to have you feel weird and out of your element. That's okay. But that doesn't mean you can just walk up and say whatever comes to the top of your head. And if that person doesn't see you the way you see them, it's okay. There's about 7 billion people in the world.
Right.
And in this country, there's millions of them, men or women in this country. You can find someone else.
This is true. I mean, I've had my heart broken many of times. But I mean, I like to think that when somebody new comes into your life, especially if they're attractive and they're smart, and then y'all break up, you be like, my bar standard has been raised. My bar standard has been raised. And then that'll make you stop messing with those bum ass people. I mean, I ain't even trying to be funny or anything. But yo, I be looking back sometimes and I be like, damn, yo, I fuck with some bum ass motherfuckers. Yes. Like people who I be like now I wouldn't even
bother. They're like, I actually found that attractive. Wow. That shows how much I've grown.
That's what happens when you have on them hoe goggles.
Whole vision.
Yeah, your whole vision. Everybody has their whole moments.
And that's another thing that had me thinking too. We're all promiscuous. Just because someone, there's a healthy version of promiscuity and there's a not so healthy way of promiscuity. Healthy way is, you have multiple partners, but you're not doing something where every single encounter must be a threesome or a foursome, or you need to have sex with 5-10 people a day. That's unhealthy.
That's
dangerous.
I don't know. You need to seek some psychological help for that.
Yeah, because at that point it's a sex addiction.
Yeah. That's wild.
But it's funny because Amber Rose got me thinking about the whole thing of slut shaming. Some people will say Amber Rose is a slut. I don't really know much about her life, but I just know she's a woman who she looks hot. And I think I saw something on Twitter once where she was doing a anti-slut shaming campaign. Or she was a part of a anti-slut shaming campaign.
Yeah.
Where basically, if this woman wants to if she wants to have multiple partners or whatever, if she wants to have sex with a lot of guys and not be in a relationship, that's her life. Let her do it.
She's an adult.
Right. She's not hurting you in any way, shape, or form. And
I think they'd be mad because I ain't get the pussy, bro.
And fellas, if you think she's a hoe, if you think the man that if you think your homeboy's girl's a hoe, don't tell him on some shit like, yo, she a hoe because I did this or I did that. That was something that happened before y'all got together.
That makes you a hoe.
Right.
Doing some shit like that. That's you a hoe, nigga.
That has nothing to do with your friend's relationship.
That sound like some mad shit.
And some guys
sound
like
some
that.
Salty shit.
Some
you
people
salty.
don't like that.
The saltiest place on earth, right next to you.
But some people don't like that. I guess what I'm trying to say is promiscuity shouldn't be something that's looked upon as bad, unless that person's actually being really unhealthy with it. We're human beings. We're gonna want to have sex, and if that person who was banging,
there's moderation and everything,
right? And if that person who was banging 1,300 people in a year decides to quote unquote settle down and stop being so promiscuous with you, really, you should view that as something that boosts your ego, because they went from being promiscuous to only messing with you or only wanting to explore sexual things with you. That says a lot.
It does. It does indeed. I don't know. I'm pretty solid. People are like, I don't agree with anything y'all saying. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. We just having a conversation. I can't wait to have the phone set up so we can chit chat. But I'm gonna go ahead and let y'all out of class. I'm gonna go ahead on, have me a cocktail, something brown. And as always, I'll see you guys next hump day. This is your one and only Aryan Hart on Naked Radio, and this has been Sex Talk.